fun time travel. As most of our viewers know, cruising is a fantastic way to vacation. Some of you may be here planning your first cruise, or maybe you weren't the planner and now you're planning. There's a lot of things to consider when you're booking a cruise, and we're going to get into some of them. So let's talk about that right after this. So vacations are great. Cruising's a blast. Some might even call it an addiction. You can simply book a cruise, plan it, and go, and most likely you're going to have a great time. But, you could stack the deck a little bit in your favor if you take a little time to consider a few things, and we're going to get into those. But before we do, because we got so much to get into, we just wanted to, hey, would you like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our cruise news updates and a lot of these tips and tricks videos that we put out. So we try to do it like twice a week, and you guys have been so awesome subscribing, and we're looking forward to our new friends. So let's get into it.
Okay, so picking a cruise line. Every cruise line has a little different vibe, and you're going to have different experiences on each one.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? What kind of experience are you looking for? If you're thinking about Carnival, it has a bit of a younger crowd and tends to be cheaper, so you can see all kinds of walks of life, people from all over the world.
Yeah.
It has a reputation for kind of being a party boat. However, you can party anywhere on any cruise line, and we've always had a blast. It never gets like over the top or anything like that.
No, and I think that reputation was maybe earned back in their early days.
Yeah.
They really seem to kind of
there are so many families. We see so many families and kids, and so it's all
absolutely
different.
On the other end of the scale, and I wouldn't even say that this is too far removed from that. Holland America, it tends to be a little bit nicer. They tend to skew maybe a little bit older, but not always.
No.
I think we would feel at home on Carnival. We'd feel at home on Holland America. Princess is a fantastic cruise line, has a little different vibe again. Royal Caribbean has just this fun atmosphere. They have these amazing ships, these huge ships that could take much more than a week to experience. I think some of those
fun shows.
Lots of stuff to do. You could go even a little bit nicer, classier with something like Celebrity, or if you want to do like an adults only thing, you're like, look, I just want to get away from the kids. Virgin has a great option. So there's all kinds of options out there.
Something else to think about with the different options is all the different cruise lines offer or have different requirements for like their dinner times, like clothes.
So like the way you dress. Some tend to be a
little bit more relaxed on their what they require, and others tend to be more upscale.
Yeah, absolutely.
But another thing to think about is what kind of cruise length do you want? How long do you want to go for?
Yeah.
Maybe a 4 or a 5 day just to start and get your feet wet, or even a 2 or 3 day cruise.
Get your feet wet.
Get your feet wet.
Anyway.
You know what I mean. Get you started. For our first one, we did a 7-day cruise, and we loved that length of a cruise because I feel, anyways, on like a 2 or 3 day, you're only going to go to like one port.
Yeah.
So you're literally going to go and come right back.
Right. Just about the time you catch your breath, you're headed home.
Yeah, but you got to figure out what works for you.
Absolutely. I think for us, if we're going on a vacation, 7 days is really where it's at for us. I would consider a 2 or 3 day cruise on a ship we hadn't been on just to get maybe some video content. But a 4 or 5 day might be all right just to kind of catch a breather. One of these days, I think we're going to try maybe a 10 or a 14 day, and but they got all kinds of lengths and different things to experience. So this is something you got to figure out. What are you looking for?
Another thing to consider is itinerary and home port.
Right.
Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Alaska, the Caribbean? You want to go to Europe? This is often one of our first thoughts.
Absolutely.
But we always tend to go to the beaches and sun. We just
so maybe it's not much of a thought.
I know. We just do.
Yeah.
We love going to the Caribbean, doing the Caribbean cruises, but, that's just us.
Right. And so, there's a couple of things. One, where do you want to cruise out of? Is there a port that you could drive to? Because, that honestly takes a little bit of the cost off of the cruise in some ways, because you could just drive there the morning of, find a good place to park, and away you go. Conversely, if you got to fly, there's going to add a little expense to that. Another thing with your itinerary, which ports do you want to see? You know, maybe you've been to Mexico, maybe you've been to all the all-inclusives, and you're like, hey, you know, I really want to. So now you're looking at, say, the Bahamas, or you're looking at some of the Eastern itineraries, or again, Alaska, or Europe, or there's some South Pacific cruises. All these things kind of play into it, and you know, these ports that you cruise out of, each port has different things that you can maybe want to do, maybe want to try. Maybe you want to go to New Orleans. You want to spend a few days there ahead of time or something. So these are things to consider, kind of throw those into the mix as you are planning your cruise. Another thing that, and I kind of hit on it a minute ago, but price is, it's always a big thing for us. You know, you got to set your budget. Unfortunately, we're not independently wealthy, you know. Yet. I don't know if I have a rich uncle out there that maybe could donate to our cause. I don't know. But, you know, the thing is, you can find deals and you can go pretty inexpensive, or you can spend more depending on your taste. One of the things, if it's your first cruise, you know, often on your first cruise, you're only going to find a limited number of deals, but it's amazing. Once you've been on that first cruise, all of a sudden the cruise line's like, hey, we want you back.
Yeah, they'll start sending you offers.
Or you spend some time in the casino, and you know, depending on how friendly Lady Luck is, maybe you do all right, or maybe she's stingy this time, and so you lose some money. But often they'll send you deals based on your casino, you know, performance, or I don't know. But you know, don't forget that drink packages, casino fun, and excursions can add up really fast. So, you know, sometimes that cruise that you thought was going to be cheap isn't quite as cheap as you think it's going to be. Or if you go to a port 2 days early and spend $1,000 in the port before you leave for your cruise. Who does that? That can add up fast too. So Cocoa Beach is fun, but somehow...
surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Well, another thing to consider is deciding what time of year to go. And this often goes hand in hand with the price. It really does. Different seasons cost more. Holidays cost more. Weather can be a factor to think about. You know, hurricane season runs from June to November, but that tends to also be a little bit cheaper on those cruises. You know,
especially the September, October, November time frame.
Right. And it's often not a problem. We've never had a problem with it. But you know, it does happen. Sometimes, you know, ports get canceled. They divert the ships. They're not going to still take you to a port if they're going to take care of you.
Like, we're surfing.
No. But you just got to figure it out. Like, what time do you want to go?
Yeah, sometimes during hurricane season, you end up skirting a hurricane. The seas get a little bit rough. You know, but they won't sail. The biggest concern that I feel like we run into if it's hurricane season is... if hurricanes are headed towards the port that we're going to cruise out of, then that can really affect things and you know, in a million different ways. But that being said, you know, they can be cheaper September, October, November especially. But conversely, times like spring break, times like, you know, summer season, Thanksgiving week, Christmas, even Valentine's Day, those can have an effect on the pricing that'll cause it to go up. And spring break and summer, you got to consider kids. You know, if you have kids, you need to plan around it. Our first cruise, we planned it around spring break for our son. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. Were there a lot of kids on the ship? Yeah. But it wasn't a big deal. But if you don't want to cruise with a lot of kids, and we've never really had an issue. But if you don't want to cruise with a lot of kids, that's certainly something you need to plan around. You know, we did find, it felt like on cruises in the fall, it seemed like they maybe skewed a little bit older generation. But again, that wasn't really a big deal for us. We still had a blast. We still had a great time. You know, your cruise is what you're going to make it. So these are things to consider. You know, decide that time of year when you want to go, and sometimes maybe that scheduling is determined for you because of, you know, family or work or whatever, but just bear in mind when you plan, time of year is important. Well, there's tons of things to think about when you're planning your first cruise, or any cruise, honestly. And, you know, these are just a few of those things. Hopefully these suggestions will help you as you jump into what has become an addiction for a lot of us. Let us know. Do you think we missed anything? Yeah, you know, are you planning a cruise? What are you considering? we'd love to hear in the comments below. A couple of just quick things on the end here. Travel agents are fantastic. They're really helpful, and contrary to popular belief, they don't actually add anything to your cost. In fact, a lot of times they can get you some extra perks. So we've got a link in our comments, in our description, for our friend Nicole Azzaro. She's a great travel agent, does a great job, and you can connect with her through that. We just put a plug out for her. She sometimes gets us cruise videos and room walkthroughs so we give her a plug.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, tell us in the comments what are you thinking about for your next cruise? What are your plans for the next cruise? So we'd love to hear it. So that's it for now. And we'll see you next time.